Welcome to the Augur Podcast, Ex Machina edition. From right to left, I have Farah, Lydia, Taleb, Kelly Brown Fernandez, and Sebastian Gil Mejia.
A pleasure.
So we're going to be talking about Ex Machina, which is a movie that we have all watched. And just to start us off, I'm going to say the plot. So the main character, Taleb, wins a 5-day-long vacation to his boss's Nathan estate. It is only once he gets there that he realizes that Nathan chose him to perform a Turing test on his newly developed AI, Ava. And some of the main themes are the man's God complex, artificial intelligence, but most importantly, the morality behind sentient technology and its development. So the main question that we're going to ask in today's podcast is, should we be concerned with the possibility of sentient technology having individual rights? So to start us off, in the movie, Nathan reveals that he used his company, Blue Book, to hack onto people's phone and use that information to create Ava. When I saw that, it reminded me of what we pointed out in the 1984 podcast about cookies, and how that's being used to create a profile. But in Ex Machina, the case is it's being used to create a profile that is going to be used for AI. And the whole issue of Nathan hacking onto people's phones and using the information connects to duality, because Nathan is using human processing of ideas to develop his AI. And by doing this on top of AI looking human, he blurs the line between machine and man. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with your point, saying that it kind of blurs the line between the mechanical processes of machines and the biological processes of humans, and how they are quite similar. Mm-hmm. Because when you think about it, human emotions boiled down as a mix of chemicals. It's not the way that we think about emotions every day. And we can see how Ava, even though she is a robot and she's artificial intelligence, but she plays on Caleb's emotions by mimicking his reactions to things,
Yeah.
So that does draw the question of how is she able to maintain or mimic human emotions when she doesn't have the capacity to do that in the biological sense of the word.
Well, that's quite interesting, Farah. Despite the fact that there is a reality that the machine itself is not really different from our biological machine mechanisms, I still believe that at the beginning we will most likely not give them any rights. This has happened throughout history with different groups. And then this really brings me towards the idea that maybe history will kind of repeat itself. So maybe we might see something similar to the civil rights movement. As artificial intelligence develops, as we create sentient machines that are more similar to us, and despite that we don't give them the rights that they theoretically deserve, we might start to see a movement by these machines to get those rights, just like we saw during the 1920s with the women's asking for vote, or most importantly during the 60s with the civil rights movement in the United States. Because by not giving rights to these machines, there will most likely be discrimination, because they will not be treated as equals, despite the fact that they can most likely act as equals, because we create them in our image, connecting back to one of the main themes you were talking about, Kelly. In addition, it would be interesting to see if, we as free beings have the ability to discriminate machines, if we will inculcate such ability of discrimination into machines, or will we just program them with peaceful ideas? Will the civil rights movement by machines, if it does happen, would it be a peaceful civil rights movement, or would it be violent? Because theoretically, machine can be far stronger, far smarter, faster, and kind of better in every way than us. So I think it really opens a lot of questions for thought. I think it's really quite interesting, but it might be a bit too soon to tell, honestly.
Yeah.
Bouncing off of what you said and kind of relating back to the movie, we see Ava and we see how similar she is to a human being. At the end of the movie, she escapes and we don't know what happens to her. but we can assume that she goes off and tries to integrate herself into society. And if that becomes a reality in our life, who's to say that those machines don't deserve the same rights as us if we can't even tell them apart from another human being, you know?
Yeah, I actually had that same point. Like, I agree with you. I mean, one of the main arguments, like, obviously relating back to Ava at the end of the film, when she escapes and she looks full human because it was shown to us that she, hid her robot parts. So we couldn't even, if that happened in real life, we wouldn't be able to tell a robot apart from ourselves. But also what I found interesting, relating back to the whole, not only duality as in like they look like us, but duality as in like they might even learn how to think like us or fool us. It really interested me how in the movie, throughout the whole movie, Caleb and Ava have these conversations, and he still manages to like be fooled by her, even though he can clearly see that she's a machine, because they show that like she has like robot parts. So to draw this up to a conclusion, potentially the rights of sentient robots is not an issue at the moment. Yet it could become one in the future, and should we be asking these questions now? So looking back at the rights that we have achieved and how vast the capacity of that is, there is a possibility that a list of similar vastness will apply to technology. So I do think we should be asking these questions now, because it's gonna change the way we develop technology.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's, as you said, quite important that we ask these questions now, that we are prepared. History could repeat itself in the worst way possible, and this type of technology will most likely be so important and so incorporated within our lives within the next 50 or 100 years that it is really practical to start thinking about those consequences now.
What do you think?
I definitely agree with the both of you. Although this might not be the most important topic to be discussing at the moment, we could be seen as bigots for discussing the rights of robots the way that we look back at men discussing the rights of women.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Okay, well, thank you very much. That draws to it and the Ex Machina podcast. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.